So the Torah portion of Tetzaveh is always read in proximity, very close to the time of the 7th of Adar, which marks Moses' birthday as well as his yahrzeit, his passing. And the name Moses appears many times in every parsha, often dozen times on a single page. And every parsha except one, this parsha. The section of Tetzaveh includes not a single mention of Moses' name. Why? So that's what we understand. That's what we want to understand today. And the answer has to do with the story of the golden calf. While Moshe was on top of Mount Sinai to receive the tablets of the Ten Commandments, the people got scared and they did a terrible sin and they rejected God and created a calf-shaped statue, which they worshiped. And when God told Moses about the people's sin, Moses could have been angry. But instead, he began to fiercely defend the people and passionately take up their case. Moses prayed for the Jews after the worship of the golden calf. And as the leader of his people, his commitment extended to every Jew, even to those whose conduct stood in direct opposition to his own values. And so, because of the sake of the people, because God was not happy with this at all, that Moses asked God to relent. Like, if you're going to be angry at them and what you're saying, just obliterate me from the book, meaning take me out of the Torah. So God said, listen, let me destroy these people. They're no good. Let me create a new nation out of you, and your descendants will be the new Jewish people. But what did Moses do? He flatly rejected it, and he said, God, I refuse to be part of this operation unless you forgive the people. And he said, and I'm so serious about this that if you don't forgive them, erase me from your entire book, the book of Torah. That was strong. He could have said, okay. He didn't. His caring about the people, his connection to the people was so strong that he would not agree to just say to God, okay, so he just said, no, if you're going to do that, take me out of your book. And when a tzaddik, a completely righteous person, makes a statement, it has to be fulfilled, at least to some degree. So when Moses said, erase me from the Torah, even though it was a conditional demand, like if you don't, and even though God did in fact forgive the people, Moses' words had to be fulfilled. Therefore, his name is omitted from the Parsha of Tetzaveh. So this intense defense of the people is unique to the character of Moshe. And we see that there were tzaddikim who prayed for people, like, for example, Abraham prayed for the righteous people of Sodom, but Moses prayed for everyone. A genuine leader rises above self-concern entirely. It's not about him. He identifies totally with his people and their purpose and is willing to give up everything for them. And Moses, the greatest prophet and teacher of all time, was also the best friend the Jewish people ever had. So that's what we're talking about today. What does it mean that Moses did this? And what does it mean that Moses' name was not in this parsha at all? So we need to understand what this is. In the end, of course, God did not destroy the people of Israel and did not erase Moses' name from the Torah. So why was Moses' name removed from Parsha Tetzaveh? What was Moses trying to achieve? Was this like a threat to force God's hands? If you're not going to forgive the people, I'm out of here. Was he doing that? Or is there any way that the erasure of Moses' name from the Torah would save the people of Israel? So what was the purpose of that erasure? Why? Of all the 54 parshas of the Torah, is Tetzaveh the one to lose Moshe's name? Because actually, the account of Israel's sin and Moses' ultimatum appear in the following parsha of Ki Tisei. In other words, it didn't happen yet in what we're reading. But it's this parsha where his name does not appear. So let's look at this with some depth. The Zohar speaks of God, the Torah, and the people of Israel as three links that are interlinked with each other, each consisting of a level upon a level, hidden and revealed. So God, the Torah, and the people of Israel are interlinked with each other. And we say that they are one. So what are these hidden and revealed levels of which the Zohar speaks? The Hasidic masters explain that there are two levels on which God, Israel, and the Torah are interlinked: a revealed level and a hidden level. Now, on the hidden level, okay, first let's look at the revealed level. On the revealed outer level, Torah is the link between God and Israel. Torah is the link between God and Israel. So according to this way, there's God and there's Torah, and then Torah is connecting the Jewish people to God through the Torah. So on the revealed outer level, Torah is this link, and God is infinite and unknowable, and we are finite mortal beings. So God gave us his Torah, decreeing it to be the embodiment of his wisdom and will. So we learned that God placed his wisdom and will into the Torah. So when we are learning Torah, when we're filling its precepts, through God's Torah, we connect to God. That is really connecting to God's will and wisdom. But then there's the deeper level. And there the connection runs the other way. The souls of Israel are what link the Torah to God. On this level, the soul is a spark of the divine essence. So the Jewish people with the whole holiness of the soul are connected into God. But the Torah that we learn and live is the product of this oneness. How does this work? God, remember we said that the Torah is God's will and wisdom. But there is also God as he is unto himself. And he is beyond possessing a wisdom or will. So there's a higher aspect of God that's higher than his wisdom and will. And he utilizes these levels just as a means by which to express his intrinsic relationship with us. So the will and the wisdom are, in that sense, like a lower level than God himself. In other words, on the revealed level, a Jewish people who reject the Torah, God forbid, lose their connection to God. On the hidden level, it's the Torah who needs us in order to be connected with the Almighty. So God wants us to bring Torah into the world, to live through Torah, to bring the God's will and wisdom into the world. But for us, on the deeper level, why are we doing it? Because we're one with God. So now let's understand what Moses achieved by insisting that God erase his name from the Torah. A person's name is the self he presents to the world. beyond which lies a deeper core self that transcends all names and descriptions. So there's a self that's deeper than our nations, than our names. So our sages tell us that the entire Torah is God's names. So when we're learning Torah, the written Torah, all of what we are reading is God's names. And it's the manner that God makes himself known to us. When God said to Moses that Israel's abandonment of the Torah had destroyed their bond with him, Moses understood that this meant that God was now relating to the people on his name level, because his name is the revealed aspect. You say, hello, who are you? What's your name? That means how can I call you? But the names are more outer than who we really are. So, when somebody says, I love you, the you in that sense is deeper than the name. So Moses understood that because God was relating to the people on his name level, on this revealed dimension of their bond, where the Torah is the link between God and Israel, he knew that to save the people of Israel, he must evoke their hidden relationship with God, the intrinsic bond that no transgression can shake. So he wanted to get God to relate to the people deeper than the level of, I don't like what you did. It's not okay what you did. But to get to the, whatever you did, you're my people. So he said to God, erase my name from the Torah. Now, Moses was saying the Torah is my life. It's the substance of my relationship with the people I love. I'm their teacher, the transmitter of your wisdom to them. But my ultimate bond with the people is still deeper, even deeper than being their teacher who brings Torah to them. So much deeper that I want to obliterate my name from the Torah. Since as long as I define my role in their lives as their source of Torah, they're not being connected to the Torah will mean that I'm no longer connected with them. In other words, if everything would be about him and the Torah and teaching them, then the relationship that he would have wouldn't be with the people really. A deep, deep relationship is deeper, even deeper than being their teacher. When you're a teacher who loves your students, it's a deeper relationship. And that's what he has to do. He knows that if it's all about, well, you didn't come to class, so then that's not it. So he knew that he had to get God to see the people on a deeper level than you're not doing what I'm telling you to do. Now, the deeds of the righteous have an interesting effect on God. They cause him to act likewise. So when a righteous person does something, they say God does it too. So Moses' words prompted God to assume his own hidden and nameless relationship with his people, the bond that transcends Torah and is actually the source and purpose of Torah, connecting us and our world with God's will. So in other words, when God is connecting to us deeper than what we do, but connecting to who we really are, which is, as our essence is connected into God, we're one. Then what happens is that this connection is this is the essential deep connection. So in the final analysis, Moshe didn't only save the people of Israel, he also saved the Torah. Now, while his name is absent from the Parsha, his nameless essence pervades it all the more. So where do we see this nameless essence? The very first sentence in Parsha Tetzaveh says, "And you shall command the children of Israel." So the Parsha's very first word is ve'ata, and you, telling Moshe, I'm speaking to you. And Moshe is there, not by his name, but by his name transcending you. That when God is saying, and you will command the people, God is speaking in a way that's much more essential. Much more essential. So why is this hidden essence of Moshe expressed in Parsha Tetzaveh? Adar the 7th, which is coming up in a couple of days, Moshe's birthday and the day of his passing, always falls in proximity to this week in which the Parsha of Tetzaveh is read. In the annual Torah reading cycle, it's really the most fitting week to be introduced to the quintessential you of Moses. Moses is a lot more than, yes, he's the greatest prophet that ever lived. He's the greatest teacher that ever lived. He's the one who connects us to the Torah, but he's so much more than that. And this you is relating to Moshe in the deepest possible way. So Moshe's connection to the Torah is so profound that it's called Torah Moshe, the teachings of Moshe. Moshe took the Torah from heaven, from God, who descended onto Mount Sinai and gave it to us. He was the bridge from heaven to earth. Following the giving of the Torah, Moses spent 40 years teaching Torah. So he has the title Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, our teacher. The people of that generation were known as the generation of knowledge. Moses was the greatest teacher who ever lived, and their knowledge of Torah was exceptional because they had him for a teacher. With all their needs taken care of by God in the desert, what did they do? They spent their days learning Torah. And what was Moshe doing? Teaching them. Now, comparing Moses to his brother Aaron reveals their opposite roles. Aaron, the high priest, elevated the offerings of the Jewish people, presenting them to God. Moses, on the other hand, helped the Jewish people establish a connection to God that went from above to below, and he took the Torah on high and brought it down to us. So what does the name Moses mean? Surprisingly, it's of Egyptian origin. When Princess, some say Bitya, some say Batya, Pharaoh's daughter discovered a basket floating on the Nile River, she opened it and found Moshe, from whom spiritual light emanated. That's something we need to understand, that light that came from Moshe was showing the essence of his soul, that he was on this level of being here from the highest place. She was touched by compassion. She took him in and saved his life. Raising him as her own son, she named him Moshe, saying, from Lamhamshich, I drew him from the water. So let's look at the idea of Moses being drawn from the water. So far, we see who Moses is in terms of his love for the Jewish people and his desire to connect to the Jewish people deeper than his position, but to bring God to love the Jewish people and recognize his own connection. So I guess Moshe taught God in that moment, if I could say such a thing. Kaviyachol. According to the teachings of Chassidus, which are based on Kabbalah, there are two worlds: the concealed, covered world and the revealed world. The ocean symbolizes the covered. Remember, she drew him out of the water. The Talmud notes that everything on dry land also exists in the sea. Plants, animals, an entire world. In the ocean, however, everything is hidden beneath the water. And so because we can't see it, it's called the covered world or the world of concealment. Concealment. In contrast, the revealed world is our revealed physical world, the world of dry land. Moses was not of our world. He was from the world of concealment. That's why he radiated light. He was from a higher realm, more angelic than human. People are on different levels, and people start out on different levels too. And he comes from this higher world. So he's associated with the water world. And Princess Bitya drew him out of the water because he is a water creation, a heavenly being. With such a lofty source, Moshe was very uncomfortable in the world of revelation. He was more at home in heaven than he was on earth, more comfortable in the water, so to speak, than he was on dry land. And this distinctive quality of being more celestial than terrestrial enabled Moses to nourish and instill faith in God with the Jewish people, because he comes from way up there. The highest level, you could say, is faith. He comes from high above. And because he comes from this faith, and that's who he is, and even higher, so he was able to bring faith to the people. We all have faith in our neshama. We all have this highest aspect in our soul. But he was so living that he could remind us who we are and get us in touch with our own souls, to have that faith and how to strengthen that faith. He's called Raya Mehemna, which can be translated as the faithful shepherd or the shepherd of faith. Moshe shepherded the people towards stronger and stronger faith. That was his job, to bring the people forward in faith. Now, in the book of Dvarim, Moshe declares, "And now, O Israel, what does the Lord your God ask of you? Only to fear the Lord your God." Yirah, only to fear the Lord your God. Fear means also awe. It means like to know that you're standing in the presence of God, to have awe of God all the time. And the Talmud questions, only to fear God? Is fearing God such a small thing? Now, for a human being, fearing God doesn't come naturally, because fearing God means that we know we're standing in God's presence. But in the human world, there's, we touch things, we see things, we can get easily sidetracked. It's easy for people to fear hurricanes, earthquakes, governments, but fearing God is not such a small thing. Acquiring fear of heaven requires diligent effort. That's what the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad in Tanya, says, that it takes effort. You have to work on having fear of God, awe of God. So what then does the word say? What's demanded of you is nothing more than fear of God? Is fear of God not such a big thing? And the Talmud answers, yes, for Moshe, it's not such a big thing. For Moshe, with his unique nature, fearing God was natural. And when Moshe says, all God wants is that you fear him, he's addressing all of Israel, every Jew. How does it help to know that it was easy for Moshe, because for everyone else it was hard. And the answer, says the Alter Rebbe, lies in the fact that there is a Moses in every generation. So there's always a Moses in every generation. To acquire fear of God, we have to connect to the Moshe of their generation. In his discourse, Parsha Tetzaveh, based on the opening words of the week's Torah portion, the Rebbe is explaining that in the same way that Moses was the leader of his generation, Mordechai led his generation during the Purim story. In other words, Mordechai was the Moses of his generation. He's the one that had this strong faith. Remember, Moses doesn't bend or bow. He feared nothing but God. And he's the one that was able to shepherd the people to have nothing but fear of God. And he's the one that led Esther to say, you can do this. Who knows? Maybe for this purpose you came into the world. So the Moses of the generation in the Purim story was saying, you need to have the faith that you could do it because God placed you here probably to do that. So you can do it. So here he strengthened the faith of all the people of his generation, which is the job of the Moses of the generation. And in the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson led his generation. The previous Rebbe was so dedicated to his generation that he boldly refused to back down in the face of opposition, the Soviets, the Nazis, the raging assimilation in America. In America, they said, forget about it. We're not like Europe. And he said, it's not different. America's not different. We're here for Torah. We're here for mitzvahs. We're here for serving God. Don't give up. And he kept going. And he risked his life, and he sent people here and there, sometimes risking the lives of his disciples. Not only, now this is really important, not only is there a Moses in every generation, but there is also a Moses in every Jew. The soul of the Jew, the neshama, comprises 5 levels: nefesh, ruach, neshama, chai, yechida, the 2 highest levels that are above the body. They are subconscious, maybe called superconscious, and the source of our faith. So in the higher aspects of our own neshama, we have super faith because we have this Moshe inside ourselves. By tapping into the yechida, the essential part of our neshama, which is full of faith, emunah, every individual can become a Moses. So Moses is teaching us to bring out the inherent leadership qualities within each of us, the Moshe within. So we're learning from the Moshe, it's not just that I can awaken your faith, you have the faith to awaken. So lead yourself, be a leader to yourself, and bring yourself forward. So let's understand that. So now we can understand the Talmud's answer is fear of God, no big deal. For Moses, it's not such a big deal. And for the Moses inside ourself, it's not such a big deal. In other words, when we know that we have this Moses within us, that we have this strong emunah, then we don't get stuck. We just keep going forward with faith. So what is true leadership? Let's try to understand that, because we need to have the leadership ourselves. So Rabbi Dr. Lord Jonathan Sacks of blessed memory, he spoke about this. And he was the former chief rabbi of Great Britain. And he addressed the gathering at 770, the Chabad headquarters in New York, during the week of Shiva observance following the Rebbe's passing on the 3rd of Tammuz, 1994. And he reflected on his own personal experience. And he spoke about coming to the Rebbe as a young student and having his life transformed. When he came to the Rebbe, he was a college student. And the Rebbe started asking him, do the students have place to eat kosher? Well, and what are you doing about that? And he started giving Rabbi Sachs, he wasn't a rabbi yet, he was just a college kid, jobs to do. You need to make a difference. You need to make sure people have kosher food. You need to, and he's going, me? And that's what the leader is. Yes, you, of course, you can do this, do it. And he wound up realizing that his life was transformed by the Rebbe. That's how he became a rabbi. That's how he became the chief rabbi. And really an amazing teacher, Rabbi Sachs, Jonathan Sachs. And what did he tell the audience when he was speaking to them? I have met many leaders. And do you know what great leaders do? A great leader creates followers. A great leader creates followers. The Rebbe is the only great leader I met who creates not followers, but leaders. Leaders need to create leaders. The Rebbe inspired me not to sell myself short, but to be a leader. And this is precisely what a Moses does. Brings out the inherent leadership qualities within us. So that's what the leader does. Brings out our own inner Moses, our own inner leadership. The primary beneficiary of our leadership is ourselves. When we believe in ourselves and maximize our potential and acknowledge that our past acknowledgments are not enough, we motivate ourselves to achieve more. When individuals reported their achievements to the Rebbe, he encouraged them to do more. He said, that's great, but don't be satisfied with that. Go out tomorrow and do more. So we have to strive to become the leaders we have the potential to be and actively work to transform the world because we can. So we have to keep going deeper and bring out what's deeper in ourselves to be who we're meant to be. So as the Rebbe taught, all of us are searching, always trying to find out what is expected of us. What does God want from me? What should I be doing now? What is my purpose? So when we're searching and we are asking, what does God want from me? What should I be doing now? What is my purpose? This is Moses bringing out the quality of leadership within each of us, uplifting and reminding us, whatever it is you're facing in life, you know exactly what to do. Tap into the Moses within you. So that's what we are meant to be doing. All this is something we learn from Moses not being, from his name not being there, because he goes into the deeper you. He says, I have to bring God to the deeper you. And all the people need to come from the deep place. And when we ask ourselves, what is it that God wants me to do now? We change because it's always more and deeper. So during this week's Parsha, we commemorate the birthday and yahrzeit of Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher Moses, the greatest teacher who ever lived, by internalizing the message of Tetzaveh, the one Parsha that omits his name. In every generation, it's the people who act as extensions of Moshe Rabbeinu, who infuse the yearning for redemption among our people, uniting us in the desire for Mashiach's coming. These efforts serve as an eternal light, guiding our people and mankind as a whole to the ultimate goal. So may we all become the leaders we have the potential to be, and may we merit to welcome the era of Mashiach when we will be reunited with all our great leaders, beginning with Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, with Moshe at the forefront, and may it happen speedily in our days.